Hello, my Juicy co-creators. Lilu here on the Juicy Living Tour in London, in England. Who likes to speak about shaman? Who likes to hear more about the shaman, the stories in Peru, the ayahuasca? Oh my God, there's so much to speak about. You didn't just came back because you spent quite some time there years ago, but you wrote the Shamans Last Apprentice, and I'm excited. I met your father. I interviewed your father, Lawrence, and we had a great time, and he told me about you, and I knew we had to do this interview. I'm excited to speak of your experience, hands-on, huh?
Great.
So thank you for accepting this interview, Rebekah. First of all, what do you mean by shaman? Because there's a lot of different versions of this word and what it means.
Yeah, for me, there's a lot of different understandings of what shaman is, but what I learn is it's about being who you really are. It's about living more in flow with Mother Nature, more connected in with the greater picture, the purpose, the destiny of why you're on the planet. It's getting out of the three-dimensional, limited way that we see the world and coming into a much more open, fluid way of being in the world and becoming more of who we are. And I found that when we live more like this, we're much more happier, we have better relationships, have much more fun. And we've got to be on this planet and enjoy ourselves. So for me, it's living shamanically. It's actually has improved the way I live my life, and it's so much better. But also, I'm being much more of who I am. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending to be someone different. I'm not conditioned anymore by what's gone before me, but I'm able to create my own way of living, my own pathway of living. And for me, that's being shamanic. That's living in your truth.
So you're all saying that we're all shamans, and actually us waking to this new dimension, to this new paradigm makes us actually shamans?
Yeah, I do. I think everyone has the potential to live shamanically. Everyone has the potential to be a shaman. It's just being the master of yourself, being who you really are. And there's obviously shamanic practitioners that can help people to understand that more. But I don't see there's any separation between anyone on the planet, and we all have the potential to be living in a new dimensional, in a new way of looking at the world, a new belief system. In fact, we really need to have more people standing up and doing it. It's really important. It is the time now, because the current belief system isn't creating a healthy planet for future generations. And we need to change our belief system in order to start changing what's happening on the planet. And the only way we can do that is from a belief, a consciousness point of view. It cannot come from changing the system. It has to come from changing our consciousness, and living shamanically or standing up and being who we really are is the step into becoming more conscious.
You had quite a brutal awakening. Huh? You were actually you were there in Peru, in Machu Picchu, and all of a sudden you got really clear on, oh my God, is this the reality of things? Is that place really that commercial kind of thing? And then later on you came back to London, so you had different phases of awakening. Tell us about that part and how you reacted to it and what you did with it, because sometimes it can be really hard to react when you're confronted to this reality.
Exactly. Well, I'd gone to Machu Picchu to work as a cultural activities manager in a hotel, and I had gone with the expectation of being in a spiritual place, and where there was a lot of nature and environment, and working in this hotel and seeing the triple bottom line of working with the local communities. But when I got there, the reality was very different, and there was big changes going on because the Sendero Luminoso had been destroyed. That's the Maoist terrorist party that had stopped people from going into Machu Picchu. So they had been destroyed by Fujimori, and suddenly, of course, it was an open market now to commercialize Machu Picchu. And I just saw how I was right there at that turning point. And so I saw how when people are left to their own devices, they naturally create their own social networks. They're naturally entrepreneurial. They find their own way, and it's an undiscussed system of connecting, and who works where and who has their own place where, and there was a real sense of harmony and cohesion. But the moment you get involved, or someone from the outside gets involved, it shatters. It's a very delicate balance, a very delicate web, and it got shattered. And now you go there and there's a market and everyone has their own stall and everyone's renting and they're having to pay money back to whoever owns the stall, and you really get to see the homogenization of an area, and before then there was a real creative entrepreneurship, and I got really depressed and unhappy, and I just called out to the mountains one day and I just said, look, why am I here in Machu Picchu, but why the hell am I here on the planet? Because it's not just happening here, it's happening everywhere. Big businesses, big corporations coming into areas, not supporting the local community, not working with the local community, but using their natural resources. No real support. It's all about profit. I mean, we all know the issues that are going on. I was like, get me off the planet, stop the planet, I want to get off, I don't want to be here anymore. And I really honestly meant it as well. It was like, I really just don't want to be here anymore. It's just too horrible. The reality is too horrible, and the future reality of where it's going is really horrible. And a shaman came to me in a vision, and he said to me, this is the reason why you're in Peru is to see this, get to this point, and if you believe in me, you'll find me, and I have the answers for you. And come to me and you'll get your answers of why you're here.
And that was the first time you had that kind of vision, or this clarity, this kind of clarity?
It was so, he came, it was so clear. I went out into the mountains and I called out to the mountains and he came through, and it was so clear, it was so powerful. And and the next day, the general manager of the hotel gave me a book called One River about ayahuasca and about this biologist who had gone around the tribes of the Peruvian and Colombian Amazon and had drunk this ayahuasca. And the moment I read that, I just thought, this is what I need to take. I'd never heard of ayahuasca before. In fact, it hadn't even been in my consciousness, ayahuasca. I'd never even understood, or even shamanism. I'd read a couple of books, but it was like the shamanism was going on in Siberia, it's like people who bang drums. I wasn't really on that path at all. But I knew that this shaman would have the ayahuasca that I needed to realize why I was here on the planet. And so I left the hotel and I flew to the Amazon, and I found him nestled in a very tiny village.
But you lost your job, really?
Well, I got sacked.
No, but that's an important part, because a lot of us face that. I had to face this in London years ago. I mean, a lot of people do, and that's sometimes it's a big kick. Some people have different response to it.
But it was relief for me, because I didn't know how I was going to leave the hotel and find the shaman, and actually I got a call saying you have to leave the hotel and you have 24 hours to get out, and that was all I needed, really. I was just almost waiting for that moment. Because I knew where I was going to. Often, the hardest thing is if we lose our job, it's because we don't know where we're going next. We know it's coming, and for most people, they want it. They just won't accept that they want it. They won't admit that they want it. But actually, if you don't really know where you're going next, it can be quite scary. But that kick into the nothingness is where the magic happens. And actually, if you're in the nothingness and you have to go beyond your comfort zone, it actually can be a massively creative and magical time. Losing your job it opens up so many doors, but it's again depending what perspective you use. If you use a shamanic perspective, you'd know it was all perfect and there's something amazing behind that, and that life is there to support you and everything's going to work out absolutely amazingly. But a lot of people are so stuck in the three-dimensional illusion that if they lose their job, then they have no money, and their minds start running with all the potential fears and what ifs, that they miss opportunities that are in front of them at the same time. And that's really, for me, you shift your belief system to the fact that you're connected with Mother Earth, you're connected with nature, that life wants you to thrive. It's not out to get us. We're not all sinners, and it's not out to get us. We're actually all lovers, and the universe loves us, and Mother Earth loves us. And when we set our intention, we know what we want. The universe will conspire to make it all happen for us. And that's for me, and the more you can be yourself and really stand in your power and really trust that, the more it happens. But you have to break out of all the conditionings and belief systems that we've been taught from the past.
Man, you speak well about this. I love it. I know a lot of people right now watching, and I'm totally connecting with you here. I love it. Thank you. You're voicing it out really great. So you met this shaman. So you were out there. You lost your job. I mean, you got sacked, and then
So I flew out to the Amazon, and it was like, okay, I'm here. Where are you? Because the Amazon's massive. And of course, I was offered loads of different things, to stay with this shaman or stay with that shaman, but it never felt right. And you have to trust your intuition. Again, when you live shamanically, it is really about trusting your intuition, not getting panicky, not worrying about time, but just being in your heart and knowing that at the right time, everything comes together. So, just getting kind of out of my own way and just trusting the process. And finally, through it's a long story, but through some amazing magic, I was taken to the shaman. And the moment he saw me and I saw him, we both knew that, it was meant to be. And he was the one that I had seen in the vision. And I was very lucky. He was living with his family and there was kids around. It wasn't just me and the shaman in a hovel, and I'm having to fend him off. I was very blessed, and his family were amazing. And he basically said he'd chosen me because I was a Westerner and I was a woman. And he wanted the messages need to come back to the West, because this is where the change can really happen, is in the West.
Well, what's interesting is that they're opening up to it, because sometimes of those older generation, and he was in his 80s, right? I mean, early 80s. You don't want really foreigners, but so there's a shift there for them too. I saw it going to Mexico, to Yucatan with the Mayans, also wanting to share their traditions, and there is a shift also for them. Instead of seeing us as bad people, they start to really see that we are also trying to reach out and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did say that that I had to bring the messages back to the West. I mean, that's why he was training me not to stay out in Peru, not to be there and have my chakra. And even though I really wanted to, didn't want to come back to the West at all, because living in the Amazon, you're living in total harmony with nature. You kill your food that you eat, you grow the food that you eat, you drink the river water, you're totally in tune with the natural flows, and you really can break away from all the kind of illusion, the technology, the madness that stops us from finding that stillness within. And I didn't want to come back to it, but he said that if you stay here, then the training has been of no importance. You have to come back to the West. That's where your destiny lies, because you're a Westerner and you have to find your way in the West. So he sent me home, much to my, upset. I was upset about leaving, but I didn't go back for 9 years. I got grounded, and I had to stay in the UK for 9 years. And so I said to the universe, what do you do with all the stuff that I've learned? Because I hadn't learned to bang a drum. The shaman didn't teach me anything. He didn't teach me bang a drum, shake a rattle, do this guided visualization. I wasn't taught anything shamanic. I was basically taking away all the layers of conditionings and beliefs and all of that, so that I could find who I really was. And when you do that, it's your own personal journey. How do you possibly share that with another person? It was my own personal journey of self-discovery. And so I said to the universe, how can I go out and teach this and teach about shamanic stuff? I don't even know what that means. And they said, so the message that I got back from my intuition was that I had to take the messages of sustainability and corporate social responsibility, coming from also my experiences from Machu Picchu, to big businesses, and that I needed to do a master's degree in development economics and then go into the corporate world. So while everyone's leaving their corporate jobs and running into the Amazon to drink ayahuasca, here I was coming out of the ayahuasca and my training and going into the corporate world to bring the messages of sustainability, corporate social responsibility to big businesses in travel and tourism. Yeah. So that's what I did for 2.5 years. And I was part of a project for the United Nations Environment Programme, where I wrote official documentation for the World Summit on Sustainable Development. And I was actually flown out there by my members that were CEOs and presidents in travel and tourism. And I ended up being invited to a meeting with James Wolfenson, the president of the World Bank at the time. And So I basically
from the Amazon.
from the Amazon, I got right to the top of the pyramid, and I met him, and I really. Oh, I'm so sorry. My phone is.
Oh yeah, this is perfect. The lovely little music in the background. We were barely hear it.
I thought it was turned off. Okay, sorry about that. I thought it was turned off. So I
Magical music too.
quite funky, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know why. I thought I turned it off. So I was invited to this meeting with James Wolfenson, and we were in Johannesburg during the World Summit. You know, plush penthouse suite on top of the top hotel, and there were very few people there, not very many, and I really got disheartened, distressed by what I heard, and I really saw that you cannot change the system, that the system's been in place way before I was born, way before most of this generation were born. It's been in place for years and years and years, and they have an agenda, and it's being played out. And
I saw that agenda. I know you know David Icke, and I just interviewed him, but you... Yeah.
I saw that agenda. I saw it from my own experiences of working in that environment, and seeing that people, human beings, wanted to make a change, but the system itself couldn't let them, because underneath it all, profit is number one to shareholders, and we're all part of that process, and we're all buying into it. And when you have that as a bottom line belief system, there's no room for the social and the environmental issues that need to come in. It's unless you change the system, or unless you change the belief system behind the system. And I walked out of that meeting, and I looked out of Johannesburg, and of course all the slums are below, and we were on this top plush hotel. And I burst into tears, and I just said, it's helpless. It's hopeless. I'm this tiny fish trying to change all these people who, interested, but don't really want to change, can't really change the system. It's absolutely hopeless. And the shaman came to me in a vision, again in Johannesburg, second time. And he said to me, now you've seen the situation, now you know your enemy, now you know what you're dealing with, now you have to leave and you have to be the change. And only by being the change can you affect change. It's the belief system that's corrupt. It's not the system itself. And until you change your own belief systems, because you're also buying into it, until you change your belief systems, then nothing can change. And
that's the real work for all of us, working on the belief system that we all have, not outside what's going on, but knowing that all of that is happening also inside.
Yeah, the most intelligent man, probably one of the most intelligent men on the planet, Albert Einstein, was very clear about it. You cannot solve a problem at the same level that it was created. And so you cannot change poverty when you're looking at it from an external thing. The situation is, because, for example, in India, you've got, massive fund resources going off to India, aid going to India, and they've just shot a rocket to the Mars. They've shot a rocket to Mars, and millions of people are still in poverty. It's a belief system. It's a belief system. It isn't the fact that there aren't the resources there. There isn't the money there. Of course the money's there. Of course the resources are there. But it's where we put them. It's where our belief system is, where our value systems lie. It's what's more important, feeding 1 billion people, sending a rocket to Mars. At the moment, the belief system is to send the rocket to Mars. But this is because we've lost our connection with each other, at the fact that we're a race of humanity. And also we have this divine relationship with Mother Earth. Without her, we wouldn't be able to to living on this planet. We wouldn't be able to be living. And at the moment, we're so unaware that everything that we need is coming from her. We're just stripping it bare. And it's not so much, it probably could continue for a bit longer, but what about future generations? The Hopi prophecies, the Hopi's decisions always said you have to consider 7 generations down with every decision you make. So the Hopis knew that if any decision they made today, it'd have to, what was the effect 7 generations down? Well, we're making decisions that we don't even care about the next generation down. I mean, we're totally out of whack with our belief and our value systems. And until that changes, not much is going to change out there. And each one of us are making a choice every day with the way we consume, with the way we spend our money, with the way we live on the planet. And little changes with everybody, everyone making little changes, is going to make a massive, huge change, a collective change. Our collective future is based on our individual decisions that we're making in the now.
But it's like we all have inside those little places that hurt, and so for some people it's about the money, and some others it's the relationship with the mother, or this and that, or our relationship to our body, and we put that on a little side somewhere. Don't want to look at it or criticize the other, criticize society. And this is where really the work is, especially for people that are into the spiritual world or really want. I think there's a lot of work to be done by all of us, and specifically us. Like sometimes there's this spiritual ego, or the, oh yes, it's okay, and I've handled that, and it's the others the problem, and we're still trapped. I mean, it's another trap, but it looks like we're again back into this kind of back into an ego zone.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're constantly being faced with in the choices that we make, how we want to respond or react to it. It's a matter of changing your value systems, whether you're spiritual or not. I don't really like the word spiritual. I never use it. For me, it's consciousness. And you don't have to be you can be conscious, and you don't necessarily have to be spiritual. Consciousness is looking at the world from a different perspective. And you don't have to be doing yoga every day, vegan, not drink, not take drugs. I mean, that's a choice. That's a lifestyle choice, but it doesn't make you conscious.
Very good point.
Yeah, being conscious is realizing that every action we take is having an impact on Mother Earth, all living things, and another human being. And when we become more aware of the impact that we're making, and we start working along the belief system that respect and love for Mother Earth and all living things, then you start slowly shifting the way what your actions are in the world. You start shifting it. You naturally start shifting it. When I got back from the Amazon, I couldn't use Superdrug or Boots products anymore. I couldn't use anything with chemicals in it anymore. I made a conscious decision, because the skin is the biggest organ of the body. It's the one that absorbs the most toxins in the body. Why would you be putting toxins deliberately on your body when you can be putting, Mother Earth's natural stuff on your body? So I stopped completely using anything toxic, anything with any chemicals or perfume in it. I stopped using it, and immediately felt so much better. Just easy steps like that. You start, and then you start, slowly cutting out processed food and ready meals. It's not going to happen straight away. But if everybody stopped just changing a little thing each week, then they would start feeling so much better. They would start feeling so much more joyful and so much happier and more contented. And a lot of the stress is also a lot of our lifestyle. And when we start shifting our lifestyle, some of that stress is released just naturally. And then obviously there's more stress depending on circumstances. But a lot of the stress that is because we're not eating the right foods when we're imbalanced. And we're putting so much toxins on our bodies and in our bodies.
Yeah. So hemp clothes?
Hemp clothes. I actually, hemp clothes, natural clothing, charity shop clothes. That's where I get most of my clothes from, is charity shops. And people always think, oh, charity shops, they're just worn out secondhand clothes, but he'd be surprised now. Charity shop clothes, you can get some good stuff in a charity shop. Really amazing one-off pieces. It is an art definitely to charity shopping, and it's very exciting. And you go in there and you see
especially in London, come on.
And especially in London, yeah. But anyway, even everywhere you go, it's and some people might not want to do charity, but it's also having a mixture of balance. It's not saying always shop in charity shops, but having a balance, and also just becoming aware of the clothes that you don't need, and whatever clothes you don't need, why don't you just do a sort out and take them to a charity shop so that other people can start. Because what happens is that we buy stuff and we actually don't really wear it that much, and then it just gets all stuck in, and then that's more clutter, creating more clutter in their head. And it's really good to have clear outs every now and then. And it's a lifestyle. You start shifting your lifestyles. So you start decluttering your life. You start getting back in the driving seat of your own destiny and deciding what you're wanting and coming from a more heart-centered space.
Yeah, the heart, huh? Being guided by the heart. Where's our guidance coming from when we're conscious?
From the heart. There's no doubt about it. But
there's like a receiver.
The heart is is where
Waiting to.
the heart can see the bigger picture. The mind is limited to only to what it knows. Okay, so the mind can only rationalize and make something logical by the experiences it's already had. The heart is open to infinite possibilities and accepts infinite possibilities. So when you start working with the heart, you're realizing that there's a solution and there's and possibilities to everything that's happening. When you're stuck in the head, you're just stuck with what you already know. So you can't see the amazing, magical, infinite possibilities that are available to you. It's
Been facing those big guys.
Oh, even facing the biggest challenges ever, and the key is that you can't stand on the sidelines and think and want to fly. In order to fly, you have to jump. You have to jump off that cliff in order to know you can fly. But most people are so afraid that they're not going to fly, that they're going to die, that they don't jump off the cliff. So they stand on the sidelines, even though their heart's saying to them, jump, jump, you're going to be okay, jump, jump. And people just don't. The key is that there's no easy way to get beyond that. There's no pill, there's no alcohol, there's no magic pill that's going to suddenly make you jump. The thing is the trust, and that Mother Earth's here to protect us and support us, and you can never fall. And hopefully there's people that like the shamans that are here to encourage people to jump, because we've done it. And that's the key, really. We've walked the path. Everything that I say is from my own experience. I haven't learned anything. I haven't been to any courses. This has been my own journey of self-discovery. And to be able to share that inspiration with others, that's all I can do, is share my own stories of my own experiences, to give people enough courage to know that they can do the same thing. I'm not separate. We're not separate. I'm not special. I'm not psychic. Don't have any special gifts. I wasn't chosen because I did anything good in the world. The shaman chose me because I so needed to find the answers for why I was here. It was a heart calling, and he heard my heart calling. And we are all in that place. So I'm no different to anybody else. You just have to want it. You just have to believe in it without doubt, and it will happen. And everything can happen. You must have seen that already. You must think, oh, I really want to see this person and interview them. And then boom, before you know it, the magic opens and the person you need to connect with is there in front of you. It doesn't take much except a real heart knowing that that's what you're going to do, without the doubt that it can't happen. And the doubt comes from the mind is so limited in its three-dimensional thinking. Oh, it can't happen, blah, 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 because of this, because of that, because of the other. But the heart says, why not? Of course it can happen. And the magic will make it happen.
Thank you so much, Rebekah, for this delicious, juicy conversation.
I'd like to finish with a poem, if I can.
Oh, yes.
It's called Evolutionary Pathways. And it was channeled to me. This is my poem. It was channeled to me about what's happening on the planet and what's happening in the next few years. And certainly next year is going to be a big one. So for that too, evolutionary pathways. We think we're the victims, but we just don't see. We are whoever we choose to be. For every decision we make in the present, the seed of the future is inherent. Our parents have taught us another idea, passed down through generations, but based on fear. And now we've forgotten why we are here. We cling to the past, worry what's coming next, seem to live our lives in constant regrets, but we're beginning to awake and starting to remember. As the Creator stokes the evolutionary ember, and every member of the human race will soon have to find their place on the evolutionary scale. But wherever you are, you cannot fail. It's just Mother Earth is shifting in opposite directions, based on our subconscious reflections. So if you choose to fear and hate, that is what will be your fate. Your state of mind will draw to you fear and hate in all we say and do. But if instead you choose love and tranquility, you will start to live in your true divinity as the gods and goddesses that we really are, illuminating the light from our bright star. For the physical body is not really here. It's just a hologram of light that was originally clear. But over time it's been tainted by fear and greed. That was not part of the DNA program of our original seed. And if you heed what I'm saying, it's because we can no longer hide. It's time to let go and stop the fight and accept that we are being led by following our hearts and not our heads. For we have already made the decision, and only in the stillness can we listen in order to envision what we want to manifest. We no longer need to guess or walk through life with closed eyes. It's time to open them, spread wings and fly to the next dimension that is ready and waiting, pure and untouched with love. It's vibrating, pulsating joy for us to start again as true light beings in this new game. For whatever we do now, we cannot stop. Mother Earth's need to purge the rot, so stop falling victim to this 3D reality that has kept us locked in karmic causality. Just radiate love and joy from your inner soul, and it'll be returned to you 1,000-fold. For you're all aspects of the Creator that is the all. And in the silence you can hear the call of the great Goddess who has come to help us out. All we need to do is trust, without doubt, and start living life as a wondrous and magical gift. And remember to smile as the earth shifts.
Awesome. I love it. Congratulations. This is absolutely beautiful. That came to you?
That came to me in 2003. Yeah, and two poems came actually, and the other one, the Goddess. Do you want?
Yeah, go for it.
I think I like this one. This is more my.
How about looking right into the camera for everybody
Yeah,
watching?
Sure. This is when I came out of the corporate world, when I came out of that meeting with James Wolfenson, and I left, and I left to write my book, The Shamans Last Apprentice, which I self-published. After I'd written the book, the poetry, this poem came through, and it was almost like an afterbirth of poetry. And this is really what I'm feeling about what's happening on the planet. The Goddess has awakened because she feels forsaken by humanity's insanity. And as she awakes, she shakes her fist in the air in despair at what we've forgotten, because now we are rotten to the core. We can't hear her roars through our snores as she abhors our selfish flaws, because the clock has struck, but we're still deep in the muck. And if you already feel perturbed by these goddesses' words, it's because they are true, and they are speaking to you, not the ego-centered part, straight to your heart. You see, we put the cart before the horse, being forced to believe that we only receive when we feed the need to appease our greed. This mad idea is fueled by fear, ignited by the powers that be that do not want us to be free. So they committed emotional tyranny, and they silenced our voices, but we think we still have choices. We're distracted to buy useless things that never bring the peace of mind we crave to find, addicted to buy more and more stuff, but we never seem to have enough. So we throw away and buy more crap, just to fill the empty gap. But nothing fills the deep dark hole that consumes us body, mind and soul. Yet we follow this game with unbelievable pain and no conceivable gain. And because we're so vain, we've ignored the mystical teachers that have come before, so we still remain spiritually poor. But now it's time to wake the fuck up and realize it's all been one great big con to keep us wanting to hold on. We're clutching the illusion so goddamn tight, terrified of reality's bite. And now we've nearly lost the fight. We're so used to being raped and abused. We've remained maimed, shamed, dazed and confused. But as the goddess awakes and shakes us out of our fearful slumber, we open our eyes in awe and wonder as we hear the thunder of the guns that are ripping us asunder. We begin to understand it's time to unite and make a stand and start to walk hand in hand. Brothers and sisters, it's time to see the truth of reality, acknowledge our fragility. For though we try to stay alive, all we do is seem to survive, while the truth remains hidden inside. So let go of your pride and need for external stimulation, except it's all been mental masturbation. For love of self is the ultimate goal, and the unity of body, mind and soul. Everything else is just an illusion, masquerading as the solution. And if you still feel perturbed by these goddesses' words, it's because we don't have to be caged birds, except we are just evolving continuity and fly to fifth dimensional fluidity, where everything is energy, matter and flow, and unrestricted we can grow. But in order to reach that wonderful plane, there is only one path to finish this game. So open your eyes and begin to see that loving yourself, that loving yourself, that loving yourself is the only way to be. And the power of love that's within you and me is really the goddess leading us to our divinity.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebekah. Thank you to all beautiful co-creators out there. Thank you for this delicious time. Big, big kisses to all of you.
Thank you, Lilu. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
conscious.
You had quite a brutal awakening. Huh? You were actually staying, you were there in Peru, in Machu Picchu, and all of a sudden you got really clear on, oh my God, is this the reality of things? Is that place really that commercial kind of thing? And then later on you came back to London, so you had different phases of awakening. Tell us about that part and how you reacted to it and what you did with it, because sometimes it can be really hard to react when you're confronted to this reality.
Exactly. Well, I'd gone to Machu Picchu to work as a cultural activities manager in a hotel, and I had gone with the expectation of being in a spiritual place and where there was a lot of nature and environment. Practitioners that can help people to understand that more, but I don't see there's any separation between anyone on the planet, and we all have the potential to be living in a new dimensional, in a new way of looking at the world, a new belief system. In fact, we really need to have more people standing up and doing it. It's really important. It is the time now, because the current belief system isn't creating a healthy planet for future generations. And we need to change our belief system in order to start changing what's happening on the planet. And the only way we can do that is from a belief, a consciousness point of view. It cannot come from changing the system. It has to come from changing our consciousness, and living shamanically or standing up and being who we really are is the step into becoming more like this. We're much more happier. We have better relationships, have much more fun. And we've got to be on this planet and enjoy ourselves. So for me, it's living shamanically. It's actually has improved the way I live my life, and it's so much better. But also, I'm being much more of who I am. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending to be someone different. I'm not conditioned anymore by what's gone before me, but I'm able to create my own way of living, my own pathway of living. And for me, that's being shamanic. That's living in your truth.
So you're all saying that we're all shamans, and actually us waking to this new dimension, to this new paradigm makes us actually shamans?
Yeah, I do. I think everyone has the potential to live shamanically. Everyone has the potential to be a shaman. It's just being the master of yourself, being who you really are. And there's obviously shamanic.
Hello, my Juicy co-creators. Lilu here on the Juicy Living Tour in London, in England. Who likes to speak about shaman? Who likes to hear more about the shaman, the stories in Peru, the ayahuasca? Oh my God, there's so much to speak about. You didn't just came back, because you spent quite some time there years ago, but you wrote the Shamans Last Apprentice, and I'm excited. I met your father. I interviewed your father, Lawrence, and we had a great time, and he told me about you, and I knew we had to do this interview. I'm excited to speak of your experience, hands-on, huh?
Great.
So thank you for accepting this interview, Rebekah. First of all, what do you mean by shaman? Because there's a lot of different versions of this word and what it means.
Yeah, for me, there's a lot of different understandings of what shaman is, but what I learn is it's about being who you really are. It's about living more in flow with Mother Nature, more connected in with the greater picture, the purpose, the destiny of why you're on the planet. It's getting out of the three-dimensional, limited way that we see the world, and coming into a much more open, fluid way of being in the world, and becoming more of who we are. And I found that when we live more like